I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break.
Welcome back. I appreciate everybody. This is ChopStation again. I am your host, Marvin Ricks, and I just want to say thank you all first and foremost for everybody that's new here to ChopStation. I want to thank you all for joining in right now, and I also want to thank those that are just really interested in the knowledge that we're sharing. We're a platform of love, wisdom, knowledge, and building. You can catch us here every Thursday at 7 p.m. For those that joined us last week, you know that this is part 2 of a 3-part series called Levels of a Man. We have our guest back again, Dr. Jeffrey Odom of the Agape Christian Center Church Incorporated. He is the founder of that. This is a mighty man of God. I'm sure you all witnessed that last week with the nuggets and the jewels and everything else that was dropped. I'm sure you all witnessed that and you all took some stuff back with you. Last week, we talked about being the priest, the provider, and the protector. So we want to make sure that this week we build upon that. I know Dr. Jeffrey has some new content. I'm telling you, it's going to be jewels that get dropped. It's going to be knowledge that's going to get, listen, I'm excited, okay? Now, I always want to make sure before I go forward that I send love, Dr. Jeffrey, to the family, to every last member of the family. Let them know I love them. They are wonderful. That's like my extra family. I also want to send a support out, like I said, to Agape and then everybody else that has come to support Dr. Jeffrey from your different mediums. We definitely appreciate that as well. For those that are already in the chat, I just want to see some drop your state in the chat, because I just want to see what your state is. I want to see where we're reaching and how far we're going. With that, listen, I love you all. Dr. Jeffrey, the floor is yours again.
All right. Thank you, Marvin. Thank you for having me on again. We're on the second part of Levels of a Man. And so, in between that time, that space and time that we were together last, I was asking, of course, Holy Spirit, I want to be led by the Spirit. And I'm not trying to make this a spiritual thing, but the Spirit is a part of man. We talked last week about the 3 parts of a man, the body, the soul, and the spirit. And so, of course, that spiritual aspect of us is very important. And so I did ask Holy Spirit, what did he want me to talk on today on this second level of manhood? Because there's so many aspects of manhood. As a matter of fact, I was talking to my wife today and I was saying, after I finish my next project, which is Pointing the Way, a prophetic book about pointing the way. As soon as I finish that book, I'm going to concentrate on writing a book about manhood 101. And so fasten your seatbelts, get ready, because the second level of a man is sexuality. I said it, and I'll say it again, that sexuality is a big part of men that we cannot ignore. And we got to talk about it because it's a part of the levels of a man. The second level of a man is sexuality. After he learns that he is made in the image of God, we have to understand that God made men sexual beings. Okay, sexuality. Men are sexual beings. We desire sex. Let that marinate a little bit. Men desire sex. God made men with this desire. So not so that we could be unfaithful to our mates. It is so we would desire them, that we would desire the opposite sex. That's how God made us. And so men are not overly sexed. Women, men that are listening, you are not overly sexed. It is the way God made you. You are a sexual being. We don't have a sex demon. Oh, my husband just demonized. I need to take you down. I need to take you to somebody cast this demon out of you. No, that's not a demon. That's part of the man. Okay. It is the way God made us. We are physical beings. We are turned on by sight. And this is why the pornographic industry is a $1 billion industry. The pornography industry generates 12 billion. Hear me. $12 billion in annual revenue, larger than combined annual revenues of ABC, NBC, and CBS. Of that, the internet, just the internet alone, pornography industry generates $2.5 billion in annual revenue. So you can't tell me that men are not sexual beings, because the pornographic industry has made and is making billions of dollars by that sexuality of a man, men being turned on by sight. And so since men are sexually stimulated by sight, we must have balance. We must have balance. In Matthew, I'm going to go to the scriptures. In Matthew 5:28, Jesus said it this way: but I tell you that if anyone looks at a woman and wants to sin sexually with her, in his mind, he has already done that sin with the woman. And so we must control, even though men are sexual beings, we must control our desires. And we must control those desires only to marriage, the marriage bed. A man can do this with the help of Holy Spirit. So you are a spirit being. So with the help of Holy Spirit, you can control these urges. Also by bouncing and starving his eyes.
Dr. Jeffrey, hold on one second. I just want to put this public disclaimer out there for everybody. If you have a friend that's not watching this right now, you need to text them and tell them to get on, because it's about to get heavy and hot. This right here is definitely something that men need to know. They don't need to hide from it. You don't need to be ashamed of it. You need to understand and know. And those people that are related to that person, they need to know as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you get them on. Now, this is fire.
So a man, we have to have that balance. We're sexual beings, but we don't make an excuse to be all over the place. So we do that by there's two methods that I like to use. It's called bouncing and starving your eyes. Also bouncing and starving your eyes. This means when a man sees a woman that is dressed, showing her body, or wearing clothes that accentuate the body, he must look away. To stare means he is taking a mental picture, and he can begin to fantasize about having sex with that woman, or pull the image at any time in his mind back up. If you stare at a body part too long, then you're able to pull that image back up, and it's going to arouse you. So he will become aroused by the pictures that he's taken in his mind. Even you at the mall, in a magazine, or even through internet, he will be aroused by that picture he has taken in his mind, and he will want to act upon that desire. That's why we see rape is skyrocketing. Every 2 to 3 minutes in America, a woman is being raped. Why? Because men can't control their sexual urges. So he will be aroused by that picture he has taken in his mind and will want to act upon that desire. So starving the eyes is when we know an image, we know that there is an image but we avoid the image to keep from being aroused. So example of that is when you're in the grocery store, you go past the books and the magazines, and you know where they are. They're at the cashier's checkout. That's where all the magazines are. That's where all of the scantily dressed women are on the pages. You got to avoid that aisle. We know where they are on the billboards. We know the commercials, and we know the television program. We know 90% of beer commercials are going to have what? A scantily dressed woman. You know that the world uses this phrase, sex sells. You can put a woman in a bikini beside a hamburger because it'll sell. Why? Because sex sells, and that is the position of the world. And so we have to be like David did in Psalms 101:3 in the New Living Translation. David says, I will refuse to look at anything vile or vulgar. I hate all who deal crookedly. I will have nothing to do with them. So as a man, even though we are sexual beings, we have to have balance. If we don't have balance, we'll be all over the place, and we'll be fantasizing about every woman that passed by us. And even if you're married, that doesn't exempt you. You're not exempt if you're married. And so it applies to all men. The eyes are the gate. That's what you have to realize, is that your eyes are a gate that the enemy uses to get men and women, and even women now, to succumb to sexual addiction. Fornication, we know, is wrong. We're seeing in the world today casual sex. People will go to a club and meet a man or a woman, and they'll just have a one-night stand. They'll get together for that one night of what they call pleasure. But what's happening is you are forming a soul tie with that person. And what you don't realize is that you're sleeping with every person that they have slept with. And so that's why we see STDs, and that's why we see these incurable sexual transmitted diseases being transferred from person to person, because these diseases are being transferred because people are having what we call casual sex now. And so it leads to fornication. It leads to adultery. We're seeing men leaving their wives leaving their husband because of adultery. And it happens in the eyes, and even visitations at night by demons known as succubus. Succubus is the woman demon, and incubus is the man demon. So we find these demons are having sex with us at night when we're sleeping, and we say that we're dreaming, but we're actually having sex, fulfilling sexual fantasies in our mind through dreams. So sexual sin will lead you down a path where you are unproductive in life. That's why I'm talking about this, because even though men are sexual beings, when you get out of balance and you begin to indulge in sexual sin, it will lead you down a path where you are unproductive in life. There's a loss of sleep, tiredness, degradation, lethargic, and just plain empathetic to living life to the full till it overflows. And these are manifestations of an imbalance with sexual desires. So a single person that allows themselves to have sex with demons will never be married. I think I'll say that again. A single person that allows themselves to have sex with either succubus or incubus, they will never be married. Why? Because the demons are possessive. They won't let you marry another person. They won't let you go that easily, because they have formed, and it can even get to a point where that demonic force or that demonic demon will marry you. You'll be married to this person. Even though you're a single person outside, you can be married to a demon. And even if you are married in the earth, these demons will take possession of you and say they are married to you, because the demons are possessive. They won't allow it. They won't allow you to have another person if you're single. A person that is married that has sex with demons will begin to hate their spouse. They'll begin to hate their spouse. They are no longer sexually satisfied with their mate and would choose to have sex with demons rather than their husbands or their wives. And so this causes separation, and the couple could end up in divorce. Yes, even over that. A demonic force sleeping with you at night could cause the other person not to be wanted, and your marriage can end up in divorce. So God ordained sex. We know that God ordained sex for marriage. This is the only, I'll say it again, this is the only authorized place for a man and a woman to be satisfied sexually, is in marriage. Any other means of sexual pleasure is not ordained by God. So we live in a sex-crazed society. So as men, we must guard our gates. As men, we must guard our gates. We must guard, what are the gates? The eyes are a gate. The ears are a gate. The touch is a gate. Conversation, your mouth and your tongue. What are you saying? What are you talking about? In Ephesians 5:3-5, the New Living Translation says, let there be no sexual immorality, impurity, or greed among you. Such sins have no place amongst God's people. Obscene stories, foolish talk, and coarse jokes, these are not for you. Instead, let there be thankfulness to God. So you have to focus your attention in other directions. You can be sure that no immoral, impure, verse 5, you can be sure that no immoral, impure, or greedy person will inherit the kingdom of Christ and of God. For a greedy person is an idolater, worshiping the things of this world. So, yes, even though men are sexual beings, we know the culture of the world is what? To be twerking and to go to strip clubs and to look at pornography. But I'm telling you, this is going to strip you of your manhood. This is going to actually strip you of your sexuality. This will, you need to make sure that these gates stay closed, because in Job 31, this is a very powerful word for men. What can I expect from God? Job says. He says in verse 1, I made a solemn pact with myself, never to undress a girl with my eyes. So what can I expect from God? What do I deserve from God Almighty above? You got to understand that God is watching you. Isn't calamity reserved for the wicked? Isn't disaster supposed to strike those who do wrong? Isn't God looking, observing how I live? Yes, he is. Doesn't he mark every step I take? Yes, he does. Have I walked hand in hand with falsehood or hung out in the company of deceit? Weigh me on a set honest scale, so God has proof of my integrity. That's what sexual purity is all about, your integrity. If I've strayed off the straight and narrow, wanted things I had no right to, messed around with sin, go ahead then, give my portion to someone who deserves it. If I've let myself be seduced by a woman and conspire to go to bed with her, fine. Listen, this is profound right here. This really got me. Fine, my wife has every right to go ahead and sleep with anyone she wants to. For disgusting behavior like that, I deserve the worst punishment you can hand out. Adultery is a fire that burns the house down. I'll say it again.
I want to pause, Dr. Jeffrey, I want you to say that one more time, and I'm going to pause right there for a short break, but I want to say something before we go to a break and come back to part 2.
Adultery is a fire that burns the house down.
listen, s- uh, these are the nuggets. Like, I'm taking notes here too, so I want everybody to understand when you see me turning my head left to right, because these are nuggets that you hear, but you want to make sure that you always keep. And these are the nuggets that have constantly been dropped. So when I talk about built different, this is built different for a man. There's nothing in the streets. There's nothing in ripping and running the streets, but a lot of things that are not going to help you. Dr. Jeffrey, I've heard you mention bouncing and starving the eyes. Nugget, everybody. I've heard you mention balance, and you talked about the consequences to balance, and then you talked about the sexuality of a man. Man, you need to hear this. For every man that's listening right now, you need to stop what you're doing, sit down, and let just soak this in. Because again, as I said before, it's nothing to be ashamed of, but you do need to know how to manage it. Again, there's nothing in ripping and running the streets. There's nothing in talking about. I saw a video the other day talking about somebody asking what their body count is. What is that? That doesn't prove that you're a man by no
No.
stretch of the imagination. I mean, that doesn't, what decent woman are you going to walk up to and you're going to tell them that's going to be your opening line? You're not getting anywhere with that. So I think that collectively as a man, we have to continue to step up. Listen, we're going to take a minute and 30-second break. That last part, think about that, man. I want you, and on a minute and 30 seconds, I want you to think about that. Every man that is listening, that is involved in a relationship, every woman that is listening that has a son that knows that a son's in a relationship and might even know that the son isn't doing what he's supposed to. Think about that and share that with them. That because of what you're doing, how would you feel if somebody slept in the same bed that you changed the sheets in? That's tough. We'll be right back. So, Dr. Jeffrey, before we go on, I want everyone in the audience to understand just how important this is and just how on time it was for this specific topic to be dropped tonight. So that's why I know that there's somebody out there that needs to hear this. I had a conversation today earlier at work, Dr. Jeffrey, and I said last week he spoke about priest, provider, and protector. I said, man, I can't wait till he get on sexuality, because that part right there, man, it's gonna knock your sock. I just said that less than 6 hours ago,
Right.
while I was at work, and this is what you're delivering. This is the live interaction of ChopStation that I'm talking about. This is the information that definitely needs to be shared. I see questions already in the chat, so I know that this session is gonna have some questions definitely at the end. So we're gonna go ahead on and back to part two. Dr. Jeffrey, back to you.
All right. I ended. The last thing I said was adultery is a fire that burns the house down. And Job says, I wouldn't expect anything I count dear to survive it. You can't survive. Your marriage can't survive. Your relationship can't survive adultery. And even when it's in the mind, when it's in the mind, men and women, when you're fantasizing about other men, when you're dreaming about other men, when you're having sexual relation with demons, that's adultery. And so your marriage can't survive it. And I'm not telling you anything that I have not gone through. We have grown through this, my wife and I. We have gone through lust. We have gone through adultery. We have gone through incubus and succubus and demonic dreams. I've gone through all of that. And so I'm ministering to this to you firsthand, because I know it can destroy your marriage. And we're celebrating this month 40 years of marriage. And I'm telling you, our sexuality is still intact. And it is pure. It is holy. I mean, and there's nothing like it. And so that's why I'm talking to you about purity, because sexual purity, even in your singleness, prepares you for marriage. And so men must tame their flesh. Even though we're sexual beings, we must tame our flesh, even though we are sexual beings. We cannot afford our sexual desires to lead us down the path of being whores and slaves to sexual sin. Women, on the other hand, are totally opposite. But we are seeing a trend in women being addicted to pornography. Women connect emotionally. They connect emotion before they connect physically. They connect emotionally. Men connect physically. That's why a man can go to bed with you and sleep with you and don't call you anymore, because he fulfilled his physical need, and so he's not going to connect to you emotionally. And that's why women are so broken when they sleep with a man, and they can't understand why he doesn't get in contact with them, because you are connected emotionally to the man, and you just did the physical part to be even more emotionally connected. So women connect emotionally before they connect physically. Men connect physically before they connect emotionally. Women will have sex just so they can be held by a man. This sense of safety and security makes a woman feel connected emotionally. So a woman will go through the physical part just to get the emotional needs met. But most of the time, if it's not marriage, guess what? They end up in separation. They end up moving to the next person, because they'll always be wanting, because sex outside of marriage is not ordained by God. So women must be stimulated through conversation, time spent with no physical contact. That's how women are stimulated. Women must be warmed up, much like an oven needs to be preheated before you start cooking something. So when you see it, the makeup of a woman, yes, she has to be stimulated through conversation, time spent with her. She has to connect with you emotionally. And so as you preheat an oven, romance, things like that, speaking positive affirmation, these are the things that women want to hear before they connect physically. Men are physical, so we are moved by sight. Lingerie, that's why lingerie is so popular. Or just a naked body of a woman stimulates a man. It stimulates a man's sexual appetite. And so men are like microwaves. We are ready to have sex in an instant. We're ready. We don't have to be warmed up. We don't have to be preheated. We are already ready. So since we understand the makeup of a man, we need wisdom in directing our sexual desires. So to be more productive in our manhood, I got 12 things here, and then we're gonna wrap it up. This is how you can have balance in your desire and be productive as a man. Number one, stay away from things that stimulate sexual desire. Even if you are married, since you know you are a sexual being, you need to practice starving and bouncing your eyes. Stay away from things that stimulate sexual desire, even if you are married. Number two, get connected to the spiritual aspect of you. Get connected to the spiritual aspect of you, because the spiritual aspect of you will lead you to God, will lead you to his word, and will lead you to be sexually pure until you get married. And then even when you get married, to stay sexually pure. So be around other men who are sexually pure. Don't be around men who go to clubs, and don't be around men who are whoremongers and looking at pornography and talking obscenities. No, you need to stay away from those people. You need to bond with your wife sexually. Every opportunity you get, you need to bond with your wife sexually, passionately. You need to be with your wife. Develop a hobby or an interest. You're too idle. You need a hobby. You need an interest. You need something that will stimulate creativity in your mind. Number 6, become a mentor to other young men. Be an example of sexual purity. You want to be an example to the next generation. You want to leave them a legacy. You want to leave them something. And you want to leave them, a good example would be sexual purity. Number 7, meditate on the word of God and pray. It helps, and it will help sustain you from sexual immorality. A time of meditation, a time of prayer, a time of listening to God's word will help you put that sexuality into balance. Become physically fit. Exercise. That relieves a lot of stress. Get plenty of sleep. Drink plenty of water. Eat a balanced diet. All of these will help you in your manhood, in your sexuality. Eliminate unnecessary stress. Anything that's stressing you out, because there is good stress, but there is also bad stress. That unnecessary stress, things you're worried about, things that you're fantasizing about, you need to eliminate all of that unnecessary stress. 10, take a vacation. I'm on vacation right now. I'm celebrating my 40 years of marriage. I'm away from Virginia. So as a man, you need to take a vacation. You need to take time to relax the body, your mind, and your soul. So you need to take the time. You need to take a vacation. And number 11, get regular checkups with your doctor. Take all prescribed medications. And then 12, last but not least, be the best man you can possibly be for yourself, your wife, your family, and those in your sphere of influence. And so as a man, you don't want to be an old lascivious man. You don't want to be a young lascivious man. You don't want to be involved in the culture, because the culture is sexually crazed and everything revolves around sex. But you can be an anomaly. You can be different. You can be a man that stands out. You can be a man that's sexually pure. You can practice sexual purity in your mind. You can practice sexual purity with your spouse. You can practice sexual purity within yourself to make you the man that you don't have to be a slave to sexual immorality. And so that's what I'm saying, is that if you're going to be the man that God has put you in the earth to be, fulfill your mission, do what God has called you to do, you have to lay aside every sin and every weight that has so easily beset you. And you got to concentrate on being better. You can't be better if you're addicted to pornography. You can't be better if you got your eyes all up into ladies' body parts. You're sexually craved. You are a sexual being, but you got to learn as a man how to balance that sexuality out. And so those are some things that you can practice on a daily basis that will help you balance your sexuality as a man. But we are sexual beings. We don't denounce that. We're aware of that. But there has to be balance. We make no excuse for it, but there has to be a balance.
So, Dr. Jeffrey, I have a couple of things that I wanted to ask and say, and then we'll take a 30-second time out, and then we'll come right on back and we'll go right into the questions because there are some questions in the chat. So I want to speak it to the mic so they definitely can hear this question, this statement. First of all, this is live and it's on time. I can't keep saying that enough. And also, everybody that is in the chat and everybody that is watching, let's give them their flowers and celebrate 40 years.
Amen.
40 years is not easy.
No.
40 years, it takes time, it takes effort, and it most importantly takes God and commitment. And I appreciate you all for having an example of 40 years and being able to talk to that example. I also was laughing in my head because when you all said the sexuality was still in place, and when you mentioned that, Dr. Jeffrey, the first thing I saw was Aaliyah's face saying, "Come on, parents." That's the first thing that I really saw, because I'm over here like, these are my parents saying this. So, but again, I appreciate the realness and I appreciate how honest that you all are. Man, one of the nuggets that I'm just over here writing a mini book myself, right? So I know people have questions. Rewind this and play this back to all men that are watching, to all of our viewers that are watching, all our women that are watching. Rewind this and play this back. Take those 12 keys, put them on a note, sticky note, whatever it else might be, put it in your house. Let those words manifest wherever they are. Put them near your son, put them near your spouse, your whoever it might, whatever, put them there. Let those manifest. The other thing I wanted to ask really quickly before we go into break and then get to the questions in the chat. For a lot of men that are watching, they may say, well, I'm not married yet, or, I'm just in a relationship, or I'm not to that point. What should, and you alluded to it, I think, in point 5 and 6. Mm-hmm. What would you tell those men, if you had to speak to those men right now, what would you tell them to focus on at this point in their life? And what do they need to do to be prepared for this step in their life?
Well, I can tell you, as you are single is the way you're going to be when you're married. If you're not sexually pure when you're single, you're not going to be sexually pure when you're married, because marriage does not solve the sexuality part of a man. If you're masturbating, if you're looking at pornography, if you're involved in dreams, having dreams with demons, these are things that they're gonna go over to your marriage. Your wife is gonna have to deal with that. Your wife is gonna have to deal with you being addicted to pornography. She's gonna have to deal with you masturbating and not being able to perform with her. She's gonna have to deal with you sleeping with demons at night. And so you have to, as a single man, you have to start practicing sexual purity now. Listen, if your eyes are all up in women's butts and breasts right now, guess what? When you get married, that ain't you still gonna you gonna do it in front of your wife. She's gonna catch you looking at other women. And if she's any type of woman, she will not let that go on, because you're committing adultery. I mean, if you're going to do that, stay single until you get delivered. Because I'm telling you, if you have those problems when you're single, you're going to have them when you get married. Marriage does not exempt you. It does not deliver you from lust. I'll raise my hand. I can tell you that, yeah, the issues that I had as a single man when I got married, they were still there. And so thank God I married a woman with patience, who waited for me to get delivered, who waited for me to get where God wanted me to be. And so I'm telling you, all women are not that patient. They'll leave your butt. They're like, hey, okay, you gonna do all this? You gonna be all this? You can do all this without me. I mean, I'm out. And so that's what I'm saying, is that if you want to be, as a single man or single woman, you want to get delivered from these addictions before you get married. You don't want to go into marriage with these issues.
Okay. Well, a- another nugget. I saw that in the chat. Thank you, Patrice. I saw you dropped that there. That is definitely another nugget that you just dropped. Basically, man, get yourself together.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it in layman's terms. Get yourself together. Make sure that you are together before you bring a woman into your life. Because, I used to think about it like this, and I think a lot of men miss this point. The person that you're dating or the woman that you marry is somebody's daughter.
Right.
So how would you feel as a father to that daughter if someone was doing her like that? We got to look at things a lot differently and put them into perspective, because most men, they'd be ready to go off.
Right.
But you're doing the same thing to somebody else's daughter. It just doesn't make sense. We're going to take a 30-second break, about a 30-second break. We're going to come back, and then we're going to get right into the questions and wrap up the show. See you in a second.
All right.
Be bold. Be unique. Shop Jax. Be exclusive. Be one of a kind. Shop Jax. Be yourself. Be different. Shop Jax. Not the same that you're going to see everywhere else. Shop Jax. JaxFlyWorld.com. All right, so we're back. Let's just jump to these questions really quick. And if you do have questions, of course, you can drop those into the chat. Let's see. Where was that first question? Okay. So this question, listen, I'm telling y'all, Dr. Odom asked some bomb questions. Y'all can't be afraid to ask questions. That's why we have this platform here. Every time that Dr. Odom asks a question, it's on point and it's on time. So if you do have a question, shoot, put the question in the chat. We'll definitely ask it. The question says there are many excuses that a woman makes to avoid her man in this area. Are there any reasons that a woman should say no to her man?
No, except for the if you look at the Bible qualification, there is no excuse. Only for fasting and praying, and he must agree. He must agree to that time of fasting or praying. If he doesn't agree to that, then no, there is no excuse. Or if she's on her cycle, that's a time the man should allow the cycle to expire, and then come together after that, or fasting and praying. But any other time, there should not be depriving. And there should be a balance even in that. I mean, there are times when when man, he can aggress his wife, but there are also times when men want to be aggressed too. Yeah, that's a turn on when a woman aggresses a man. Fireworks. I'm telling you. And so it's not just the man aggressing the woman for sex. It's also a balance where the woman aggresses the man. And so there should be no time when the man or the woman should deprive the woman or the man of sex, especially in marriage, and explicitly to marriage. That is the only authorized place for sex, is in marriage. So you need to enjoy it, and you need to engage in it often and passionately.
I think I love the topic that you just said, because I think some men are afraid to admit that too, that sometimes yes, the man he wants to be the seeker. He wants to be that, but sometimes you want the other person to be the seeker. Yes. And I think a lot of men are afraid to admit that because they think that makes them look unmanly or, not as masculine as they should. But I love that part that you just said there. There's another question, follow up after that question that says, so why are so many marriages broken?
Well, yeah, so many marriages that's a good question. So many marriages are broken because of adultery. And like I said, it could be in the mind. If I was talking to a person today, they said, when I indulge in sex with my mate, I feel like they're not present. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you can be going through the motions of being just having a sexual release, but that is where communication comes in. I have to know what my partner likes. My partner needs to know what I like and what I don't like. That's what community. You can't assume, okay, we've been married so long, they should know. No, you have to communicate, and you have to talk about it. You have to have, I'm talking about in-depth conversations about your sexual needs. And as you get older, especially, I've been married 40 years. Listen, I've gone through 4 decades of changes. I'm not the person I was in my 20s. My wife is not the person she was in her 20s. So guess what? We had to make adjustments through the decades, in our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s, now entering into our 60s. We have to make adjustments. And so we have to constantly communicate. And we're still communicating. We're still evaluating our intimacy. What can we do better? What did you like? What didn't you like? And so it is a ever growing, increasing knowledge of each other. And so that's why a lot of marriages end in divorce, because the other person is not present. And it could be, and it's definitely through the sex crazed culture. Like I said, the man is fantasizing through pornography. He's looking at pornographic films. He's looking at a pornographic magazine. And it could be the woman too. She could be not present. She could be looking at pornography. She could be indulging in magazines and fantasies, and indulge in these demonic influences that infiltrate their dreams at night. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. If you're involved, if you have a spirit husband or a spirit wife, they won't let you enjoy the sexual intimacy with your partner. And like I said, you'll end up hating the other person because you're not being fulfilled sexually, and you think you're being fulfilled through this demonic experience that you're having at night, but it's only causing separation between you and your spouse. So adultery is not just you stepping out on the person physically, but you can be stepping out on the person mentally, and you can be stepping out on a person that's sleeping right next to you, and you having dreams and fantasies about someone else, or being with someone else, or you're involved in this demonic activity at night in your dreams, and it's separating you. And that's why a lot of relationships end in divorce, even after 20, 30, 40 years of marriage.
So nugget. That's all I can think of right now. I just see nuggets dropping, and it's just interesting to me because this is what's so needed. I just, I thank God first of all for putting it on your heart to speak about this tonight. I'm thankful for that. There's another statement, and then there's actually 2 more questions. Keep them coming.
Okay.
Look, they are on vacation, y'all, so we won't hold on.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We've allotted this time. It's okay.
This was a statement, and it goes on to what you just said. And I think, in today's world where pornography sells, where sex sells, and everything is sexual, whether it's this type of sex or that type of sex, or with the man to man, woman to woman, male to female, all of it now is what's being pushed on every TV show, every movie. There's a scene or there's something, but this right here gets overlooked a lot. And you mentioned it a second ago where, the statement was made that the bed becomes defiled when you bring other things, people, and the ways we think into the bed. And that is a powerful statement. And you spoke to it because when you start bringing other people, other things, the human anatomy, your brain is going to start to look at things differently. So you're allowing that, you're almost allowing that spirit to take the place of the person that it shouldn't be taking the place of, to put it like that. And you say it won't. In your mind, you're saying, no, this isn't going to happen. That isn't going to happen. But in reality, it's slow walking you down. And you don't even realize it until it's too late. And then like you mentioned earlier in the show, you come in and say, well, the person says, well, I don't even sleep with my, when I'm sleeping with my spouse or whatever, it doesn't look, I don't feel the same. I don't feel nothing. Because all those, like you just mentioned, all those other things have replaced the spouse.
Right.
So that's a powerful statement that added on to what you were saying. Dr. Odom dropped another one, and she said, if your man has a problem, how can she become his shero? as in his like hero, playing hero.
Yeah. So if a man has a problem, he needs to seek counsel. And like I said, he needs to be around other men who are sexually pure. And listen, I am a man's man, and so a woman can actually be a help to the man by encouraging him, by speaking positive affirmation into his life. And so a woman can help a man if he has a sexual problem. She needs to be paid. She needs to minister to him. She needs to show extravagant love to him, because she got to realize that if she's in it for the long haul, he's not going to be like that always. And so she has to be patient with him. She has to endure. If she wants to endure, if she wants the marriage to work, she's got to help him in those areas. And she's got to and she can't look away. If she notices something that's not right, sexual impurity with the man, she needs to address it. Don't let it go. Don't just let it linger. Don't hold back. So they need to address the issue. If there's an issue with your man, you need to address that issue and make him better.
And the last question, which was extravagant love. Yes, that's right, Patrice. There's another question here, and I think we're going to love who this question is coming from. Sharon Odom. She said, we often talk about the pleasure of sex, but was sex designed by God for reproduction?
Well, yeah, for both, for procreation and for pleasure. Because as a married person, a man, he's going to be a sexual being until he dies. He wants to experience that. And listen, this is another side of the sexuality that I didn't talk about tonight. In a marriage, sex binds you together. When you deprive one another, for whatever reason, you don't be with your man or you don't be with your woman, listen, it causes separation between you. And so that's why we need to all seek help, no matter what age you're at. If you're in your 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, you don't have to have a sexless marriage. In your 40s, and people are being sexless at 30, in their 30s, and they have sexless marriage, and that shouldn't be. We should be engaging in sexuality all the way up until we leave this earth. And so, listen, when you don't bond with your mate, when you don't have sex with your mate, then it's causing a separation between you two. And the bonding process, when you don't have the bonding process, that leaves a door for other things to come into your marriage. And so that's why I am very adamant on bonding with your mate, with your spouse. And anything that keeps you from doing that, you need to seek help, because there is help available. Believe me, there is help available. You don't have to be a sexless couple.
Listen,
you don't have to be that way. You can enjoy sex all the way up until your final years on this planet.
Listen, I'm gonna need everybody to read, to go back and listen to every jewel that this tonight has set the tone to change generations and change lives. That's what this is. And right now, where's the camera? I'm gonna show the camera. You see this? This is the book. Okay. You need to go to Amazon, order Happily Ever After. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the marriage and the ministry. And I firsthand can speak into everybody that's listening. They're gonna never, I'm looking directly at you. They're not gonna steer you wrong. They're gonna tell you the truth. They're not gonna be biased. If your butt stink, they're gonna tell you it stinks. If you're good and you did a great job, they're gonna tell you did good and a great job. You have to, again, you never want to be the sharpest person in your toolbox. This right here is knowledge. Okay. That's why I had to look on my bookshelf, because I'm like, this book ain't never leaving the bookshelf. But I want to thank you all, everybody that joined in tonight. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Listen, look forward to next week, which is part 3 of Levels of a Man. And Next week, we're going to announce what's going to happen after Levels of a Man. So next week, Levels of Man Part 3, Thursday, 7 p.m. Dr. Jeffrey, Dr. Pamela, we thank you all again for joining on your vacation, on the location. I appreciate that for you taking your time out. I ask right now that God blesses you and shows you all extra favor for taking the time out on a vacation where he's giving you all time away to refresh yourself and get more knowledge and rhema word for the people, and just knock y'all socks off while y'all are on vacation. Like I just want it. I'm so happy for it. So
Amen.
Dr. Jeffrey, until next week, until everybody on ChopStation, I'm your host, and guess what? I'm out.